Here in this vid, I'm going to give my review and thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, in Avengers Endgame, when Tony Stark made the sacrifice to bring back half the universe, to which he passed away afterwards for, the question was, well, who's really going to be at the center of the MCU now? And a few years later, I think we have our answer. It's Doctor Strange. I mean, he was the one that set things in motion for Avengers Endgame. He had probably the most impactful and emotional story in Marvel's What If. And he was the one that was the source of all the multiverse mayhem and bringing our three Spider-Men together in Spider-Man No Way Home. And finally, he gets another solo adventure in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Following his multiverse mishap in Spider-Man No Way Home, Strange finds himself in another universe-jumping adventure where a child with special abilities seeks his help when a new threat that threatens the stability of all the universes arises. Now, shortly after the first film came out in 2016, had you asked most viewers, hey, this or told them there's going to be another Doctor Strange sequel, they'd be like, all right, cool, that's going to be all right. Now, obviously, No Way Home played a role in sort of elevating the different level of hype for this film, but there were really two factors that really changed the dynamic of this film, the level of hype, and made the film what it is when it came out. One is the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. We saw the character really come into her own in WandaVision, where the character was showcased to be probably the most tortured soul in all of the MCU. This leads to the character having quite the arc in this film, and the film does not hold back in showcasing her desires, how the Westview events changed her, and showcasing herself to probably being the most powerful being in the MCU now, taking over for Captain Marvel. But the Scarlet Witch is truly a fascinating character to watch now, and it really elevated the level of dynamic and just sort of character arcs and just all the different kind of stuff in this film. The second element at play here that really changed the dynamic in the film is Sam Raimi. Now, most people have seen his superhero side with Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, the original Spider-Man trilogy. However, he really made his name originally with his horror side, with Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness. Some of this horror side actually sneaked into some of the Spider-Man films, notably the scene in Spider-Man 2 where Doc Ock is on the operating table and his robotic arms just lay waste to all the doctors in that operating room, and there's a really kind of chilling horror vibe to that scene, but it's a brilliant scene. With the supernatural elements in play for this film, that gives Raimi the playground to put together some scenes and imagery never before seen in the MCU, to where there's a real kind of horror vibe going into this film that people are really anticipating. You know, that kind of horror vibe really takes over the second half of the film, where the film takes a decidedly non-family friendly turn. Now, not all of the horror type elements work though. There does come a point where the film tries to really throw a whole bunch of jump scares at you, to where there's an element to where a character will just open their eyes and immediately it's like, boom, jump scare. What's kind of silly is that the film did this with two different characters about a minute apart. And it's like, that's kind of goofy. But there's plenty of really cool imagery, scenes, and tensions that really sort of elevate the film and make it be like, wow, I've never before seen this. Forget in an MCU film, really just a superhero film in general. And that made the film something truly worth watching in that respect. For those looking forward to the horror element in this film, you will not be disappointed because there's plenty of it in the second half of the film. Thankfully, none of these elements, when it comes to the Scarlet Witch and Raimi's direction, overshadow the titular character himself, Doctor Strange, who has his own personal demons, mainly his relationship with Christine and trying to figure out what he really wants in life, and he has plenty of time to showcase all the sort of weird tricks that he has up his sleeve, and really showcasing, as I said, why he really is the center of the MCU now. The prominent new character introduced is a young girl named America Chavez, who was a likable kid, worked well with Doctor Strange, and has a power that likely a lot of people, including characters in the MCU, will be very interested in seeing going forward. Now, additionally, there was a whole lot of hype for this film when it came to the madness and surprises that might come with the type of elements in play for this film. You know, the kind of stuff people thought they might see due to the whole sort of multiverse gimmick. Now, this is one of the rare times that I was equally as surprised at the stuff that was in the film and stuff that ended up not being in the film. Now, there were a whole lot of nice inclusions in this film. Some stuff that definitely caught me off guard that I just did like, whoa, I didn't expect to see that. Two big elements that were included in the film, unfortunately, were shown in the advertising. One was showcased in one of the main trailers a couple of months ago, and another, unfortunately, was showcased in one of the TV spots recently, To which I ask, why show any of this stuff? You know, this would have been such a nice surprise. Had they just left the one from the main trailer that came out a couple months ago, that's fine. But to showcase a character, one of the characters I mentioned here in one of the TV spots, that actually really pissed me off and would have been such a like, oh wow, kind of moment in this film. It was so cool to see this character. I just wish it wasn't included in the advertising. However, there were a whole bunch of reports of different stuff that people reported that was going to be in the film and stuff that did seem likely to be included. However, it ended up being not included, just like, whoa, I thought this was going to be in this film. It goes to show that not every sort of leak or report is true. That's hard to believe after Spider-Man No Way Home. But it ended up being true in this case and showcasing that, you know what, maybe they put some false information out there just to F with people. So as I mentioned, equal as many stuff that did surprise me as that did not surprise me in terms of stuff that was in the film. However, with all these elements in play, the Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange himself, Raimi's horror direction, just the sort of adventure the film goes on, truly lives up to its name of being Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as the film is really just a wild adventure through the multiverse and showcasing all this kind of weird stuff that Doctor Strange has to go to in accomplishing his mission with this new kid. The film definitely lived up to its name, and it would get an 8 out of 10 for me. Leave the kids at home though, because there's definitely a decent amount of imagery in this film that will disturb them. A lot of that comes in the second half. But if you're looking forward to that kind of element, you will not be disappointed, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that you have definitely never seen in the MCU before. So that'll do it for this review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.